Imagine trying to use the bathroom while wearing something that feels more like a construction project than an outfit. You're stuck inside layers of clothing so big they could probably cover a whole family. Your waist is squeezed tight in a corset that makes it hard to even breathe deeply. And you're surrounded by polite company who would probably faint if they knew the clever and sometimes surprising ways women used to deal with needing to go. Today, we're taking a closer look at one of history's most surprising challenges: how Victorian women took care of basic bathroom needs, while dressed like walking fashion sculptures. And believe me, the tricks they used will completely amaze you. But before we dive into this weird world of hidden chamber pots and clever bathroom tricks, I'd really love to know where you're watching from. Leave a comment below and tell me the name of your city or country. It's honestly amazing that we can all connect from different parts of the world to talk about these strange and interesting moments from history. And if you enjoy learning about the crazy secrets from the past, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We've got lots more amazing stories on the way. Now, let's go back to a time when using the bathroom felt like a full-on athletic event. Women had to be experts in quiet, careful movement just to take care of something simple. Getting dressed in the Victorian era was almost like gearing up for war. It started with a thin linen shirt, which was worn to keep sweat and skin oils off the expensive outer clothes. Then came the corset tight enough to reshape a woman's ribs over time. On top of that were layers and layers of petticoats, sometimes 6 or 7, each one adding more puff and shape. But the most intense part was the crinoline, a cage-like structure made of steel hoops and fabric straps. This thing could be as wide as 6 feet across. Just sitting down or walking through a doorway took serious effort and planning. Some crinolines were so huge that furniture had to be specially made, just so women could sit comfortably in them. Living inside this walking structure meant women had to totally rethink how they kept clean and used the bathroom. Even the simplest things, like peeing, turned into a planned, almost choreographed performance that took time, help, and a lot of clever thinking. That's where the chamber pot came in. These weren't just basic bowls, they were smartly designed tools made to solve a tricky problem. Women's chamber pots were usually oval-shaped and curved just right, so they could fit under all the layers of skirts and petticoats. The fancier ones even had lids that closed tight, not just to keep smells in, but also to let the house staff know if the pot had been used. In rich homes, these pots were hidden in stylish furniture. Some chairs had secret holes, pretty cabinets held hidden pots, and beautifully crafted wooden commodes disguised their real purpose. Servants quietly moved around the house all day, checking on, emptying, and cleaning these hidden bathroom items without anyone noticing. The whole bathroom process took real skill. A Victorian woman couldn't just lift up her skirt and be done. She was wearing up to 20 pounds of heavy fabric, steel frames, and delicate lace. So she had to learn a special method: part graceful dance, part smart planning. Positioning was everything. The oval chamber pot had to be placed just right under all those skirts. Then, with some clever movement and careful cloth arranging, she could use the bathroom without taking off a single piece of clothing. At fancy parties, things got even more involved. Big dance halls and nice houses had special retiring rooms. Think of these like Victorian bathroom lounges just for women. Here, ladies could take care of private needs with help. Maids worked in these rooms like speedy pit crews at a race. They helped arrange all the many layers of the lady's skirt, made sure the chamber pot was in the right spot, and helped clean up afterward. Everything had to be done so quietly and secretly that other party guests would uneven realize the lady had left the room. These women were experts at staying calm and graceful while managing some really tricky practical problems. But here's something surprising, and you might find it shocking. For a big part of the Victorian era, many women didn't wear what we'd call underwear today. Their skirts were so huge and full of petticoats and crinolines that people thought normal underwear was unneeded. They believed all those layers of cloth covered them modestly enough. Or at least that's what they thought. This changed a lot when crinolines started causing embarrassing public accidents. Imagine this: a woman walking down a busy street when a strong wind catches her enormous skirt and flips the whole thing up over her head, like turning an umbrella inside out. These embarrassing moments happened so often that people finally decided maybe some extra covering was a good idea. The solution was a big change for its time: split crotch drawers. These weren't solid underwear like we have now. They were like 2 separate pant legs joined only at the waist, with a big open space in the middle. This design was very clever. It gave modesty when needed, But the open middle meant women could use the bathroom without having to take off or adjust their underwear. Figuring out how Victorians went to the bathroom involved much more than just the clothes. Think about what they used for cleaning back then. Toilet paper, like we know it, didn't exist until the very end of the Victorian times. Instead, people used whatever they could find. Old newspapers, pages from catalogs, dried corn cobs, leaves, or pieces of soft cloth that could be washed and used again. Rich Victorian women preferred soft linen cloths. These could be washed with the other household laundry and felt nicer than the other options. But even these cloths needed careful handling and washing by the servants. The monthly challenge of having a period added another difficult layer to this already complicated system. Victorian women managed their periods using homemade cloth pads and a belt system called the T-bandage. This belt held absorbent materials in place. These materials could be soft rags, cotton, moss, sheep's wool, or whatever natural soaking materials were available. Women had to change these homemade pads very often throughout the day, sometimes 12 to 20 times on heavy days. All of this had to be managed secretly under those huge skirts, usually without help, and always done in total silence. Society expected women to be very proper, so periods were never talked about openly, not even among women themselves. Washing and taking care of Victorian clothes made these challenges even harder. Those fancy dresses, made with yards of fabric, detailed beadwork, and delicate materials, couldn't be washed often. Many families only did big laundry washes twice a year during Great Wash Days. Instead, dresses were kept clean by brushing them carefully. Hanging them out to air and using lots of powders meant to soak up smells and body oils. The undergarments that actually touched the skin, like the shifts, chemises, and later the split crotch drawers, were washed much more often. These washable layers protected the expensive outer dresses and were seen as essential for staying clean. Under those rarely washed elaborate gowns, Victorian cleverness also showed up in public toilets. They used the garderobe system, which came from medieval times. This involved holes built high up in buildings where waste could be dumped straight down onto the streets below. The famous shout "Gardes low" warned people walking below to dodge whatever was being thrown out from above. What was in chamber pots wasn't always just thrown away either. During certain times, like wars, government workers would actually collect urine. Why? Because it could be turned into saltpeter, a key ingredient for making gunpowder. So your personal waste could literally help supply the army. The way people handled bathroom habits in the Victorian era was just as interesting as everything else from that time. The idea of privacy, the way we know it today, didn't really exist for most people. Families often used chamber pots right in front of each other. And at social events, it was normal for men to step out into the garden and relieve themselves among the flowers. Even with all these awkward situations, Victorian women still managed to keep up an image of grace and elegance. They came up with clever ways, rules, and habits to deal with daily problems. While still following the very strict rules of good manners that were expected back then, the effort it took just to handle normal bodily needs while wearing huge, complicated clothes really shows how smart and adaptable these women were. They figured out methods that were practical, subtle, and worked well even if those methods seem strange or funny to us today. Learning about how people used bathrooms in the Victorian era tells us a lot about their beliefs, how society was structured, and just how far people went to look proper while handling very human problems. It reminds us that people throughout history always found creative ways to deal with difficult situations. No matter how odd or impossible they might seem, these women were true problem solvers. They built little systems to help them live in a world that made even basic tasks feel overly complicated. What's really amazing is how all of these routines became so normal that no one questioned them. Victorian women became incredibly organized. They had to think through every part of their day, planning everything based on their clothing. They had to figure out how long they could go without using the bathroom, when to drink water, and how to team up with other women to share bathrooms or get help from assistants. The mental strength it took to deal with all this while staying calm and elegant was huge. Just imagine showing up at a fancy dinner, smiling, chatting, dancing, and sitting up perfectly straight all while wearing a painfully tight corset, and knowing that using the bathroom would mean a full-blown operation behind the scenes. These women also created quiet networks of shared knowledge. Mothers would teach their daughters how to manage their complex outfits. Household maids learned exactly how to help without making a scene. And female friends developed secret ways to talk about bathroom needs at social gatherings without breaking any rules of polite conversation. There was also a big financial cost tied to all this clothing. Wealthy families hired whole teams of servants just to take care of women's wardrobes. There were laundry workers, personal maids, and seamstresses, all with their own special tasks to keep the clothing system running. The amount of work needed just to keep one woman properly dressed was truly unbelievable. Surprisingly, all this difficulty may have actually led to some good changes. Since dressing up was such a hassle, rich women started spending more time at home or in safe, controlled places. This gave them more time to learn, focus on art and music, and explore intellectual interests. Some historians think that because fashion was so hard to manage, it actually gave women more time for thoughtful and creative activities. The move away from these uncomfortable clothes didn't happen all at once. It took many years and was influenced by things like women riding bicycles. And the demands of World War I, where women had to take on more active jobs, the giant hoop skirts slowly turned into smaller bustles, and then eventually became more practical skirts that allowed women to move freely and live more independently. When we look back at all these complicated systems now, they might seem like old-fashioned curiosities, but they actually show us something powerful about human strength and creativity. Victorian women didn't just get through these problems, they found smart, graceful ways to handle them. They figured out how to protect their pride, health, and social image, even while dealing with some of the most difficult clothing in history. Victorian cleverness left its mark on much more than just bathrooms. These women were the first to find ways to solve problems, keep things private, and work together socially. Their ideas changed many things, including fashion design, social manners, and the creation of modern pipes and clean water systems. What they went through directly helped push for more useful clothing designs and better public health buildings. So, the next time you easily use a modern bathroom, put on comfy clothes, or handle any personal care task without trouble, stop for a moment. Think about the amazing journey that took us from chamber pots and big crinoline skirts to the easy life we have now. The Victorian women who dealt with these everyday problems with calm and strong will made the way for the freedoms and conveniences we hardly think about today. Their story shows us that people often come up with new ideas in surprising ways. Sometimes the biggest steps forward in ease and comfort start from the most difficult and uncomfortable times. Victorian women turned need into something beautiful, creating systems so well thought out that they kept their style even in the hardest situations. And that's the amazing hidden story of how Victorian women handled one of life's most basic needs. While dressed like walking pieces of art, it proves human creativity, toughness, and how far people will go to keep their self-respect no matter what. What did you think of this trip into Victorian bathroom life? Were you as surprised as I was by how smart and complicated these daily habits were? I'd really like to hear what you think in the comments below. And please tell me where you're watching from. Talking to viewers from all over the world makes looking into these cool history puzzles even more fun. If you liked going deep into this hidden part of history, you should definitely subscribe. We have so many more great stories waiting to be found. From old beauty tricks that will surprise you to medieval eating customs that will change how you see food, we're always finding out the interesting, strange, and wonderful ways people lived in the past. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey through history. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore another fascinating mystery that might change the way you think about the past.